A woman with a rare personality moves through the world guided not by noise but by clarity. She doesn't chase trends, approval, or fleeting praise, because her direction comes from a deeper place within her. Where others look outward for cues, she turns inward, listening to her intuition with a kind of quiet confidence that cannot be taught. This inner compass becomes her anchor, keeping her steady even when life feels chaotic. She is driven by purpose, not performance. Every action she takes is rooted in meaning, not convenience. She seeks alignment rather than applause, asking herself whether something feels true rather than whether it will be accepted. This gives her a sense of direction that remains unshaken by external pressure. People often wonder how she stays so centered. They don't see the countless moments of reflection that shape her choices. Curiosity fuels her steps. She is the type who asks why things work the way they do, who questions outdated assumptions, and who refuses to accept "that's just how it is" as an answer. This curiosity isn't rebellion, it's a commitment to understanding. She believes that knowing more about herself and the world is the key to becoming better, and she approaches life with a learner's mindset rather than a need to be right. Her vision stretches beyond the moment. She doesn't make decisions based solely on instant gratification. Instead, she considers the long-term impact of her actions. This makes her intentional, thoughtful, and strategic. People may misinterpret her patience for hesitation, but she's simply ensuring that every step she takes brings her closer to the life she is building. Because her direction comes from within, she is not easily swayed by opinions. Praise may encourage her, and criticism may inform her, but neither defines her. She knows who she is without needing a mirror held up by the world. This self-assurance doesn't mean she lacks vulnerability. It means she isn't ruled by the shifting tides of external validation. She carries a sense of meaning into every space she occupies. Whether she's working, creating, or solving problems, she brings intention into her actions. People around her can feel the difference. She isn't just doing things, she is investing herself in them. This level of presence is rare because it requires awareness, discipline, and sincerity. She chooses paths that align with her values even when they are difficult. It's not that she enjoys struggle, but she recognizes that the right choice isn't always the easiest one. Her commitment to her principles becomes a quiet form of strength, allowing her to navigate conflicts and challenges without betraying who she is. This consistency builds trust both within herself and with others. Her purpose-driven nature gives her courage. She doesn't leap recklessly, but she does take bold steps when they matter. She understands that courage isn't about eliminating fear. It's about acting in spite of it. Because she knows her why, she finds the strength to keep moving even when uncertainty surrounds her. She sees life through a lens of growth. Mistakes are not failures to her. They're information. Setbacks are not roadblocks, they're reminders to adjust and evolve. This perspective keeps her resilient, adaptable, and open-hearted. It also protects her from becoming stagnant, because she is always refining, learning, and reconnecting with her deeper motivations. And through all of this, she remains grounded in her authenticity. She does not bend herself into shapes that please others or hide the parts of herself that feel too bold or too different. She understands that her uniqueness is not an obstacle but an advantage, and she honors the voice inside her that tells her where to go, what to build, and who to become. A woman whose life is guided by integrity moves with a steady kind of strength that doesn't need to be announced. She isn't swayed by trends or pressured into pretending to be someone she's not, because her values form the foundation beneath her feet. Even in environments where authenticity is rare, she holds onto her truth with quiet confidence, understanding that compromising herself, even slightly, would cost her far more than gaining approval ever could. Her decisions come from a place of self-respect. She doesn't choose what is easiest or most convenient. She chooses what aligns with who she is. This alignment becomes her internal compass, guiding her through situations where others might get lost in uncertainty. When faced with something that doesn't feel right, she feels it deeply in her body, and she has the courage to say no even when the world expects her to say yes. People often misread her honesty as boldness, but for her, honesty is simply a way of living. She doesn't shift to fit in, or dilute her personality to make others comfortable. She knows that authenticity is not about being loud or forceful. It's about being consistent with her values in every room she walks into. This consistency makes her trustworthy, even to those who don't fully understand her. Her integrity is evident not only in what she says, but in what she refuses to say. She doesn't participate in conversations that harm others, nor does she entertain behaviors that conflict with her moral compass. She would rather walk away from situations that demand the cost of her character than stay and betray herself. In a world filled with shortcuts and quick fixes, her unwillingness to compromise makes her stand out. She understands that integrity doesn't mean perfection. It means choosing to be honest about who she is, even when it reveals her flaws. She doesn't hide her mistakes or pretend she has everything figured out. Instead, she acknowledges them, learns from them, and moves forward with clarity. This humility gives her a grounded presence that people feel safe around. When she makes commitments, she follows through because her word carries weight. She doesn't say yes lightly or make promises she cannot keep. Others trust her because she has shown, time and time again, that her actions match her intentions. And when circumstances change, she communicates openly rather than disappearing or avoiding responsibility. Her integrity is visible in both her choices and her accountability. She doesn't allow external pressure to reshape her identity. Whether faced with criticism or praise, she remains rooted in her values. Praise doesn't inflate her ego, and criticism doesn't push her into self-betrayal. She listens, reflects, and decides based on what feels aligned rather than what feels popular. This stability makes her resilient against manipulation and emotional chaos. When it comes to relationships, she values honesty over comfort. She speaks truth with compassion, even when it's difficult or vulnerable. She would rather address issues directly than let them fester in silence. She knows that real connection requires transparency, and she refuses to use deceit as a shortcut to harmony. Her relationships, though fewer, are deeper because they are built on authenticity rather than pretense. Her integrity influences her ambitions as well. She pursues goals that reflect her inner values, not goals that simply look impressive to others. She measures success, not by applause or achievements, but by whether she stayed true to herself throughout the journey. This removes the need to compete or compare, because her path is uniquely hers, shaped by her own principles. Through every decision, challenge, and interaction, she embodies the strength of someone who refuses to betray herself for approval. She navigates life with the kind of clarity that only authenticity can provide, choosing what aligns with her truth, even when the world makes it difficult to do so. A woman who leads with empathy carries a kind of presence that changes the atmosphere of any space she enters. She pays attention not only to words, but to tone, pauses, and unspoken feelings. She notices the tension in a person's shoulders, the hesitation in their voice, and the quiet weight they're trying to hide. This sensitivity isn't weakness, it's her strength. It allows her to connect with others on a level that many never reach. Her empathy is not something she switches on. It's part of who she is. She cannot help but imagine how others feel, how circumstances shape their reactions, or what experiences may be influencing their behavior. She looks beyond the surface and sees the human behind the actions. This depth of understanding allows her to respond not with judgment, but with compassion, which makes people feel safe being real around her. She listens with intention, When someone speaks to her, she gives them her full presence instead of waiting for her turn to talk. She isn't trying to fix or control the situation. She simply wants to understand. People open up to her easily because they can sense she genuinely cares. Her ability to listen without interruption or agenda is rare in a world where most people are too distracted to truly hear one another. Her leadership style reflects her emotional awareness. She doesn't lead through fear, authority, or dominance. Instead, she leads through connection, trust, and understanding. She recognizes that people perform their best when they feel valued, seen, and respected. As a result, those around her become more confident, more collaborative, and more willing to take risks because they know she believes in them. Her empathy also shapes how she handles conflict. Instead of escalating tension or shutting down, she approaches disagreements with curiosity. She seeks to understand the emotions driving the issue, looking for clarity rather than control. She knows that conflict is often a sign of unmet needs or misunderstood intentions. This approach helps her resolve issues with grace and maturity, turning potential breakdowns into breakthroughs. She is highly intuitive, often sensing emotions before others are ready to express them. This intuition allows her to anticipate needs, provide support before it's requested, and recognize distress hidden behind a smile. While this ability can be emotionally demanding, it also makes her a steady source of comfort to those who rely on her presence. Her instincts are shaped by experience, reflection, and a deep desire to uplift others. Because she leads with empathy, she refuses to dehumanize anyone, not even those who hurt her. She recognizes that people act from their own hurt, fear, or confusion. While she still sets boundaries and protects her energy, she does so without bitterness. Her empathy helps her detach with peace instead of anger, allowing her to walk away without carrying unnecessary resentment. Her compassion isn't reserved for others, she extends it to herself as well. She acknowledges her own emotions without shame, recognizing that vulnerability is not a flaw but a sign of courage. When she makes mistakes, she doesn't berate herself. Instead, she reflects, learns, and chooses to grow. This inward empathy keeps her grounded and emotionally balanced. In her relationships, she nurtures depth rather than superficial connection. She values meaningful conversations, emotional honesty, and mutual support. She isn't afraid to show care or express tenderness, even in a world that often dismisses such qualities as soft or naive. Her empathy becomes a quiet form of strength that deepens the bonds she creates with the people she chooses to let into her life. Her ability to lead with empathy leaves a lasting impact on everyone around her. She brings warmth to cold spaces, clarity to confusion, and understanding to moments of uncertainty. Her emotional awareness becomes a guiding force that encourages others to show up authentically, to communicate more openly, and to treat one another with greater kindness. A woman motivated by purpose moves through life with a sense of direction that doesn't rely on external recognition. She isn't driven by applause or validation. She is driven by a deep inner calling that tells her what matters, what feels meaningful, and what deserves her time and energy. While others may chase achievements for the sake of being seen, she seeks impact that aligns with her values. Her purpose becomes the quiet force guiding her choices, especially when the path ahead is unclear. She approaches her goals with intention. She doesn't rush into things simply because they look impressive on paper or because others expect them of her. Instead, she chooses pursuits that resonate with her identity. This intentionality allows her to build a life that feels authentic rather than one built on pressure or comparison. It also gives her the clarity to step away from opportunities that don't support her growth, no matter how appealing they may appear from the outside. Her purpose becomes a source of resilience. When challenges arise, she doesn't give up easily because she isn't acting out of ego. She is acting from a place of meaning. This deeper motivation gives her the stamina to keep going when things become difficult. She can withstand setbacks because she knows why she started. Her determination isn't loud or dramatic. It's steady and unwavering. She doesn't measure success by traditional standards. Titles, awards, and recognition are pleasant, but they aren't the reason she shows up every day. What matters most to her is whether she is contributing to something that feels significant. She evaluates her progress based on alignment rather than approval. This perspective frees her from constantly comparing herself to others, allowing her to focus on her unique contribution. Because she is purpose-driven, she prioritizes depth over speed. She would rather take the time to understand a project fully than rush through it just to check a box. Her desire to create meaningful work pushes her to think critically, reflect deeply, and bring quality to everything she touches. This depth sets her apart because it shows she cares about impact, not perception. Her choices reflect a long-term vision. She doesn't get distracted by shortcuts or the temptation to take the easy way out. Instead, she considers how today's actions shape tomorrow's outcomes. Her future-focused thinking helps her avoid impulsive decisions and unnecessary detours. She understands that her purpose is not fulfilled in a single moment but through consistent, aligned action over time. She gives her energy to what feels significant. She doesn't invest herself in superficial pursuits or draining situations that offer no real value. Her ability to set boundaries comes from understanding that her time is limited and her purpose is important. This selective focus allows her to conserve her energy for what matters most, ensuring she doesn't lose herself in the noise of everyday life. Her purpose influences the way she interacts with others. She seeks relationships that support growth, authenticity, and mutual understanding. She gravitates toward people who value substance. Because she has little interest in small-minded conversations or surface-level connections. Her presence encourages others to reflect on their own motivations, often inspiring them without her even trying. She views obstacles as part of the journey rather than signs to stop. Because her actions come from a place of meaning, she recognizes that resistance often appears when she's moving in the right direction. Instead of feeling discouraged, she becomes more committed. She learns from challenges, adapts where necessary, and continues forward with renewed clarity. Her ability to stay aligned even in difficult moments becomes one of her most defining strengths. Her purpose shapes her identity at the core. It influences how she thinks, how she works, and how she shows up in the world. She doesn't need external validation because she's already anchored in something far more powerful. The understanding that her life has direction, and that direction comes from within. A woman who is unafraid of solitude carries a sense of inner peace that many spend their entire lives trying to find. She understands that being alone is not the same as being lonely, and she treats solitude as a sanctuary rather than a punishment. In the quiet, she reconnects with her thoughts, her emotions, and the deeper layers of herself that often get drowned out by the noise of the world. This comfort with her own company gives her a calm, grounded energy that feels unshakable. When she steps away from the crowd, it isn't because she is withdrawing, it's because she is returning to her source. Solitude allows her to breathe, to think clearly, and to recalibrate her direction. She doesn't need constant stimulation or external approval to feel alive. Her sense of fulfillment comes from within, and because of that, she can move through life with a remarkable level of independence and self-reliance. Her ability to be alone makes her more resilient. She doesn't fear stillness or silence. She uses them as tools for emotional clarity. When challenges arise, she doesn't immediately run to distractions or other people for reassurance. Instead, she pauses, sits with her feelings, and evaluates the situation with honesty. This emotional maturity helps her navigate difficulties with patience and strength, rather than panic or impulsivity. She values solitude because it gives her space to explore her own mind. In the quiet moments, she reflects on what she wants, what she needs, and what no longer serves her. She examines her dreams and fears without outside influence, shaping her thoughts. This introspection enables her to make decisions based on her own truth rather than societal expectations or peer pressure. Her life becomes a reflection of her authentic desires instead of borrowed ambitions. Time alone fuels her creativity. Without the noise of constant interaction, she finds room for inspiration to flow freely. Her ideas come alive when she is uninterrupted, allowing her to create, plan, imagine, and innovate with a sense of freedom that others often envy. Whether she expresses herself through writing, art, problem solving, or introspective thought, solitude offers her a space where possibilities expand rather than shrink. Her comfort with being alone enhances her relationships because she doesn't rely on others for validation or emotional stability. She approaches connections from a place of abundance rather than neediness. She gives others the freedom to be themselves because she does not cling out of fear of being alone. This makes her presence refreshing. She enjoys people, but she does not depend on them to escape herself. Solitude teaches her the value of boundaries. She understands when she needs to pull back, recharge, or protect her energy. She recognizes when a situation or person is draining her, and she honors her limits without guilt. This self-awareness allows her to maintain emotional balance and avoid losing herself in the chaos of constant interaction. Her boundaries are an act of self-respect rather than isolation. Her relationship with solitude deepens her intuition. When she has space to think and reflect, she hears her inner voice more clearly. She trusts her instincts because she has spent time understanding them. This intuitive strength guides her in making decisions that align with her well-being and her future. Others may question her choices, but she has learned to trust the quiet wisdom that rises when the world is silent. She doesn't rush to fill her schedule or her life with unnecessary noise. She chooses her activities and commitments with intention, prioritizing experiences that nourish her spirit rather than exhaust it. Solitude gives her clarity about what truly matters, which allows her to live with purpose instead of distraction. This makes her life feel more meaningful, even in the simplest moments. Her comfort with being alone is not a sign of detachment, but of depth. She finds strength in the quiet, courage in the stillness, and wisdom in the space she creates for herself. Her solitude is not emptiness. It is the foundation of her self-awareness, her creativity, her independence, and her ability to move through the world with a steady and centered heart. A woman who values depth over perfection moves through life with an authenticity that is increasingly rare. She is not interested in polished facades or flawless performances. Instead, she seeks experiences that feel real, even if they come with rough edges. She understands that perfection is often a mask people wear to conceal their insecurities, while depth is where genuine connection and understanding live. This mindset allows her to embrace a fuller, more honest version of life. She welcomes complexity instead of running from it. Where others may shy away from difficult conversations or uncomfortable emotions, she leans in. She knows that depth often requires confronting truths that aren't always pleasant, but she also recognizes that these moments lead to transformation. Her willingness to explore beneath the surface gives her a kind of emotional intelligence that cannot be cultivated by avoiding discomfort. Her relationships reflect her preference for substance. She values connections built on vulnerability, trust, and meaningful communication rather than superficial exchange. She isn't impressed by status, popularity, or perfectionism. She is moved by sincerity and emotional presence. Because she values depth, she attracts people who appreciate authenticity, and she quietly distances herself from interactions that feel shallow or performative. She approaches her own growth with honesty. She doesn't pretend to have everything figured out or strive to present herself as flawless. Instead, she acknowledges her mistakes, learns from them, and uses them as stepping stones. This openness to growth allows her to evolve continuously, unaffected by the pressure to appear perfect. She knows that real progress is messy, nonlinear, and deeply personal. Her creativity is fueled by her willingness to explore beneath the obvious. Whether she is solving a problem, pursuing a passion, or expressing herself, she digs deeper than what is expected. She seeks the meaning behind the idea, the feeling behind the action, and the truth beneath the surface. This depth gives her work a richness and authenticity that stand out naturally, without the need for exaggeration or perfectionistic polish. She doesn't measure her worth by societal standards of perfection. She understands that perfection is an illusion, a moving target that keeps people trapped in cycles of comparison and inadequacy. Instead, she measures her worth by her integrity, her growth, and the quality of the connections she nurtures. This perspective frees her from the exhausting pressure to perform, allowing her to live with a sense of inner peace. Her pursuit of depth shows up in the way she spends her time. She chooses experiences that enrich her mind and spirit, meaningful conversations, intentional activities, reflective solitude, and creative expression. She avoids getting lost in constant distractions because she knows they dilute her sense of self. Her time is valuable, and she invests it in ways that nourish her rather than deplete her. She gives herself permission to be imperfect. When things don't go as planned, she doesn't spiral into self-criticism. Instead, she views imperfection as a natural part of being human. This perspective makes her more compassionate toward herself and others. She judges less, understands more, and creates space for authenticity to thrive wherever she goes. In moments of pressure, she prioritizes authenticity over performance. She shows up as she is, even if that means admitting she's tired, uncertain, or still learning. This transparency strengthens her relationships and deepens the trust people place in her. She doesn't wear masks or pretend to be invulnerable. Her strength lies in her ability to remain real. She finds beauty in depth because she knows that's where meaning lies. She trusts the layers, the nuances, the imperfections, and the truths that shape who she is. Her preference for depth over perfection gives her a grounded sense of self, allowing her to move through the world with clarity, honesty, and a genuine desire to experience life fully rather than flawlessly.